It's been 7 years since Burkina Faso's former president Blaise Compaore fled his compound to Ivory Coast after a popular uprising against his attempt to extend his nearly 3 decades in power. But his Congress for Democracy and Progress (CDP) party says they're finishing second in November's election shows support for Compaore, and his return is growing. Amari Sawadogo, one of more than 1 million displaced Burkinabes, was driven out of his home by terrorists 2 years ago and says life was better under Compaore.
When he was in charge, we never experienced insecurity, so we believe in his way of ruining work. His return can help us be safer.
Compaore was an autocrat and made neutrality deals with jihadist groups in Mali in return for security at home that were later scrapped. Compaore committed Burkina Faso to the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Mali, MINUSMA, and was still in power when their troops were for the first time attacked. Nonetheless, Compaore's party says negotiations with armed groups need to be revived, and he is the one to do it.
Reason commands us to do it. This is a country that has been attacked for 5 years by unidentified groups, or unidentified men as they call them. If someone comes to attack your family for a few months, the first reflex is to find out who is attacking you and why.
President Roch Kabore's government last month, for the first time, raised the option of holding direct talks with terrorist groups in Parliament. But since then, it has become clear negotiations with armed groups have already commenced in the area around the city of Djibo. Despite a campaign speech that promised Compaore's return, Kabore's ruling People's Movement for Progress Party, MPP, says it is not guaranteed, but they admit he had better relations with jihadists.
We haven't made direct accusations against anyone with regard to the phenomenon of terrorism, but we see that there were very good relations between certain terrorist groups attacking us and the old regime.
Analysts and officials say Compaore's return could help Burkina Faso's political reconciliation, but are sceptical about the impact he could have on improving security.
Même s'il devait apporter des conseils aux dirigeants du jour,
providing advice to the leaders of today will be different in comparison to when he himself was in charge of the country's affairs. I think he can make a universal contribution in terms of political advice, but in reality, I'm not sure he can reverse the trend we have today.
With the scars of his ousters still visible, allowing Compaore to return to Burkina Faso could reopen old wounds. Officials say he would also have to face justice for the violent 1987 coup that brought him to power. That could be enough of a threat to keep the former president's house empty. Henry Wilkins for VOA News, Ouagadougou.